wrong, do me right. Tell me lies, but hold
For Don't Let Me Be
tight.
Lonely Tonight by James Taylor, we're in standard tuning. For this song, I suggest focusing on learning the chords, especially if you're not familiar with jazz guitar, because a lot of these chords are very different and new, or might be new to you, or just in general very unique. To do that, I'm just going to focus on the left hand for the first little bit, and I'll throw the chords up that we're playing and talk you through how I'm moving from one chord to the next, because having a very efficient manner of doing that will help to make the song much easier to play and easier to learn as well. At the end of the video, I'm going to put the tab up for what I played in my cover video, and you can focus on the actual playing of the song, so both the left and the right hand, but for now we're just going to focus on the left. We of course have the lick that you hear at the very beginning of the song, which is a hammer-on the A string from 0 to 1 to 2, and then those same frets on the D string plucked. And we go into the first chord, which we'll talk about. So for our first chord, we're gonna use our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string and middle finger on the 2nd fret of the high E, and we're gonna play that. The left hand stays the same for the second chord. We just, on our right hand, we're gonna move our thumb up to a different bass string. We're gonna play that. And then we're gonna move to this one, which is gonna be the 2nd frets of both the G and the B string. And I use my middle and ring finger for those. Now the jump to this next chord, I do differently than what James Taylor himself does. I like to just lift up my ring finger, move it to where the middle finger was, put the middle finger on the bass string on the 2nd fret, and then bar these 3 strings here behind that. What James Taylor does is, from this position, he leaves the middle finger there and brings the ring finger over to the bass string. And you can do either way. That one just feels it feels very James Taylor for me, but it actually looks more uncomfortable than it ends up being. So 2 different ways to play that chord. And then we're going to go back to the same chord that we started with, to the second one where we just moved to the A string. And then we're going to move to this F sharp minor 7th chord here, which is going to all be on the 2nd fret of the E, D, G, and the B string. And when you look at that, the temptation might be to bar it. But the reason I don't suggest doing that is for moving to the next chords after this. So I use all of my individual fingers on those 4 strings, just straight down. And then the next chord, all you have to do if you look at the tab, you just lift up your pinky. And that would just be difficult to do if you had been barring it. You know, you'd have to either move to that or have a very specific bar in there. So I like to play this one like that, lift off the pinky for the next chord, and then for the chord after that, you can just leave your ring finger there and grab this B7. So we get 3 chords that have a very minimal evolution from one to the next that make it a little easier to play. So and then we're going to go to this variation of a G, so the 3rd fret of the bass string and then 2nd fret of the G string. And then we descend down to the 2nd fret on the bass string, and then I use my pinky on the 3rd fret here of the B string. And that's because if you have that there, it makes it really easy to jump to the next chord, which we're going to grab the 2nd frets of the A, the G, and the high E. And then from there, we're going to lift off our top 2 fingers and put our pointer finger on the 1st fret of the G string. So again, we have a similar type of thing where we have to do very minimal movement, and we have a finger that acts as our root, our anchor, as we move from one chord to the next. So we started off on our G, then we go down, and then and because we're already there, the next two chords are actually very easy to grab. They're the first two that we had learned. We're hitting them differently. When we first learned them, we were playing them like this, but because of where we came from, now we're playing them like this, so it's a difference of that. And then we're going to go back to the same one the third one after that. And then we're actually going to go to the same chord that we would normally play there as well, just a different voicing of it. So at least this is what I do. You can certainly come back to this if you'd like, but I like to play it here. And then what I do in my cover is I do this slide up from the first fret here all the way to the fourth fret. So 4, 5, 4, 5 there. And that's just a stylistic thing. If you listen to the recording, you'll hear different things going on in the background that you can play around with, and that's one that I like to do. On certain parts in the song, instead of hitting this chord, we're going to go to a D instead. So that won't show there, but I just wanted to mention that because you'll see it later. So if we play just the chords and we don't do any finger picking of any kind, with those chords that we learned, you'll have
Do me wrong, do me right. Tell me lies, but hold me tight. Say your goodbyes for the morning light, but don't let me be lonely tonight. Do me wrong, do me right. Tell me lies, but hold me tight. Say your goodbyes for the morning light, but don't let me be lonely tonight.
And again, sometimes you will play a D there instead, so
say your goodbyes for the morning light, but don't let me be lonely tonight.
The next section is when he's singing
Go in, damn ya.
So for that, we're going to hit a B minor bar chord there. And then we're going to lift off our pinky and move our middle finger up a string. Grab that chord right there. And then we're going to go to one that we had played earlier, which was basically the D chord with this B bass note here. And we're going to do a similar thing that we did earlier, where we lift off our middle and bring our pointer back to the first fret there. So we have, and then back to our first chord that we learned, second one, and then we hit C, G, D.
Go in, damn ya. Go on, do as you please. You ain't gonna see me getting down on my knees. Go in, damn ya. Go on, do as you please. You ain't gonna see me getting down on my knees. I'm undecided, your heart's been divided. You've been turning my world upside down now.
Those sections where he's hitting the C and the G's rhythmically are a little difficult because he's hitting them on the pickup to the first beat of a measure, so, or the upbeat. So we have, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the and right before the ones. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that can take a little bit of time getting used to. I know it actually did for me. James Taylor does that in a couple of his songs. He does that like in Fire and Rain, I believe, and you have to, at least I myself have to commit some time to getting familiar with the rhythm. We do have one more chord to learn, actually. It's a variation of a C. We're going to put down our pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then we're going to lift our pointer finger, which was on the B string, over to the E string, 2nd fret. You can see that. It's a really nice sounding chord. It's very James Taylor-ish. We play that towards the very end when he's playing this.
Say your goodbyes for the morning light, but don't let me be lonely tonight. I don't want to be lonely tonight. No, no, no.
So I have the tab up, but you can kind of see how he just lightly arpeggios through it. Another little tip for making that jump from here to here, because that's a pretty big transition. What I like to do is build the chord as I'm playing it so that I don't have the pressure of hitting it all at once. So I play... You kind of see how I didn't just hit it all at once, because I mean, even right now it's hard for me to just go right to it. So some chords you can just go right to, but when it's a new one, you might have to get familiar with it. And because we play each string individually, we have time to get to each individual string. So you don't need to jump right to it.